Okay, and we are live. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thank you for joining us for this webinar session about AI in telecoms. We're here today to talk about how AI is being used and supported by telecoms operators and about the journey to some kind of pervasive intelligence in telecoms networks. To an extent, this session captures the whole digital change story in the mobile industry, accelerated suddenly by AI, and by extension, the digital change story in every enterprise vertical which telecoms seeks to serve. Our panel today will look at where we are today with AI in telecoms and where we're headed with it, and consider some of the first moves by telecoms players in that direction. My name is James Blackman. I'm an editor with RCR Wireless. I am your chair for today's session, which is brought to you by RCR Wireless in association with Red Hat, Spirent Communications, and Tupl, which I would argue are variously making AI work in telecoms, testing it works in telecoms, and putting it to work in telecoms. Some housekeeping just before we begin. This session is being recorded and the recording will be available on demand later today. The slides in the presentations are available to registrants after the event. We will have time in the second half of the session to take questions. I'd encourage you to submit those at any time using the Q&A dialog box in the Zoom platform. We will come to them as we can. And note as well, the panel will switch on their cameras and go to video for the second half of the session. We will just run with audio and slides until that point. Okay, so the first thing is to introduce you to our panel today. We have no fewer than 5 fantastic speakers. So you are spoiled. We have views from just about every touch point, or as many as you can fit into a session like this. Each panelist will present in turn before we go to the Q&A session. So I would like to introduce briefly in alphabetical order, which is not the order I should say they will present in, but alphabetically first, Stephen Douglas, who heads market strategy at test and assurance company Spirent, developing its strategy and defining its market position and mapping its growth opportunities and new solutions. He has 25 years, a quarter of a century's experience in this industry. Secondly, Nelson Englert Yang, who is industry analyst in the strategic technologies team at ABI Research. Nelson covers 5G and 6G cloud native systems and strategies for implementing AI for telco network automation and data practices. We have Petri Hautakangas, who is chief executive at AI company Tupl, which sells AI and ML for network operations in telecoms and in other sectors, including Industry 4, agriculture, healthcare, and so on. Tupl has a major deal with T-Mobile in the US and also Deutsche Telekom variously. Petri was, I believe, CTO at Nokia in the APAC region previously, among other roles. As well, I would like to introduce Fatih Nar, who is Chief Architect for Application Platform Solutions at Red Hat, and known, I believe, according to the Red Hat website, as the Cloudified Turk. He is a Linux, OpenStack, and Kubernetes specialist. He has worked previously at Google, Verizon, and Ericsson. And finally, we have Steve Szabo, who is Vice President of Technology Enablement Solutions in the Technology Solutions team at Verizon Business, working as a bridge, I guess, between strategy and products in the enterprise business and really bringing together its entire IoT, private network, security pieces and so on for the enterprise side. Anyway, something like that. But welcome all. Thanks for joining us, and we will hear from you each shortly. A quick look at the agenda today, just so everyone is aware of the order of service, as it were. Each of our panelists will present for 7 or 8 minutes, sorry, not that long, 4 or 5 minutes on the subject of AI in telecoms. I will let each of them introduce themselves properly, say something about their companies and their views on all of this. The running order goes ostensibly from a kind of wider market view with ABI, through execution and strategy with Tupl and Verizon, and on to the challenges and future plans in this market with Red Hat and Spirent. That's the logic, at least. We will then go, as I've said, to a Q&A session in the second half. We're down for an hour, so we should have plenty of time for questions. Like I say, please ask those as we go, and we will get to them after the presentations. Something about RCR wireless very quickly, boilerplate stuff, but to give you some background, RCR has been around since before the dawn of time, practically, as long as this mobile industry at least. It was founded in 81, 82, and is your go-to for news, interviews, and everything else. As of some time ago now, it integrates enterprise IoT insights as well as in-building tech. So it's a kind of a one-stop for news and views on digital change within wireless itself and how digital change is being sold to the rest of the world. The target audience is everyone in tech and telecoms and every enterprise vertical buying from tech and telecoms. You can find us online variously. We are, I should say, about to launch a new AI infrastructure venture as well, so watch out for that, and everything will be revealed in due course. Just to say as well that we write lots of reports, and today's session will be followed with a long-form editorial report, which will summarize and extend the discussion in this webinar. This slide, for the most part, shows reports I've been involved in, which tend to cover the enterprise space. Today's session will do some of that, but it also looks at telecoms as a vertical sector for AI too. Anyway, look out for the new report at the end of the month and check out everything else in the library as well. It's all got relevance still. Just to say as well, we run lots of events about telco AI, telco cloud and edge, private 5G, industrial wireless, lots of things. And the next event, a full day session online, is the Test and Measurement Forum on April 29th. You can find out about that on testandmeasurementforum.com. But let's get to it. A reminder again to ask questions as we go. We have brilliant speakers, and this is your session and your chance to ask them whatever you want. But in the meantime, a reminder of the agenda. We start with Nelson from ABI Research, who can give us the widescreen view of where telecoms is up to with AI. So Nelson, thanks for joining, and over to you.
Thank you, James. Hi, everyone. I'm Nelson Englert-Young. I focus on core network and telco AI for ABI Research. And I'd like to open our discussion with a basic market overview so that we can get a handle on where the industry is at with telco AI. First, a little bit about ABI Research. ABI Research is uniquely positioned between technology solution providers and end market companies. Specifically for this context, we're positioned between AI solution providers and communication service providers. And that allows us to gather our intelligence in exchanges with both sides to address not only the competitive landscape for solution providers, but also strategic implementation for service providers. So our research grows out of our market conversations that occur at this intersection. We tend to center our reporting on technologies that are a step ahead in the market, and one such technology with a lot of potential still for telecoms industry is generative AI. So I can provide our forecast of this technology. We expect rapid growth of generative AI reaching up to $47 billion by 2030, and this will correspond with shifting priorities and how the technology is used. So early adopters of Gen AI have been prioritizing areas of clear return on investment with lower risk, and so far this has largely been business deployments such as customer care. But we're also seeing new trends as well. So service providers are trying a broader set of use cases, adopting MLOps frameworks, and overall shifting beyond the traditional revenue drivers like network infrastructure. But as the market expands, there's also a risk that it may become more fragmented unless service providers are able to orchestrate across use cases and network domains in the long term. So let me explain some of the current trends in more detail. So here are the top telco AI trends that we're observing and anticipate. First, there's more movement from proof of concept to live deployment, with service providers reporting limited live deployments in at least one operational domain. Second, along with actual live deployments, service providers are optimizing for costs and control, for example, with the use of open platforms and small models. Third, we observe expansion of AI ops to improve accessibility for telco domain experts who may not be data scientists, as with intent-based or natural language-based operations. Fourth, service providers are beginning to address the fragmentation problem by shifting from modular AI deployments towards more holistic frameworks. And last but not least, we're observing AI-driven network automation, including use of AI agents for network operations. And I want to zoom in on this AI-based network automation a little more closely to see what we've been hearing from the market. So service providers continue to prioritize customer complaint, but some network use cases have become more strategic, such as those listed here. So we hear that one of the greatest challenges using AI for meeting these network use cases is the need to overcome legacy data and infrastructure and removing operational silos. So to address these challenges, service providers have been shifting towards focused small-scale deployments tailored to a narrower set of AI use cases. And this may help with investment pressures and silos in the short term. However, vendor support will be needed to help usher service providers towards their long-term implementation goals. And this will be a gradual process, starting with better operations frameworks. Once those are in place, optimizing so that subsequent uses are not as costly or risky, and in the long term, building out AI layer across network domains. So we view the winning AI strategy as solving for operational flexibility, data readiness, and phasing in MLOps maturity. And this will help to lead from the fragmented to more pervasive intelligence. So thank you. Back to you, James.
Nelson, that's lovely. Really good. Some good figures in there. Perfect introduction. We are going to move on quickly. I'm just keeping an eye on the clock here. So we're going to hand over to Petri from Tupl, who's going to talk about how to make, I guess, AI simple and workable, so it exists in the hands of vertical industries, including chiefly telecoms. So Petri, great to have you with us. It's over to you.
Thank you, James. So my name is Petri Hautakangas. I'm the CEO of Tupl, based here in rainy Seattle. And by the way, Nelson, what you just described basically describes the reason why we exist. So every single point that you mentioned in your part resonated. So, but let's get on with it. So basically, we built automation by AI use cases, and right from the beginning, our mission was to make this simple. So that it's not the data scientists that run these, but rather the subject matter experts. So we needed then to facilitate that with a low code, no code system to build these use cases. And the next slide will show you the idea of our Tupl OS. We've been around building these use cases for telco operators for 10 years now, and you can see the different modules and functions that we needed to build up to our platform to make it as easy as possible to create use cases by our engineers, but eventually actually by our customers' engineers. So our target is to hand over these use case creations to our customers. To give you a little bit color on how complex this system can evolve. In one of our clients, we have over 40 data feeds connected to our system, doing massive correlations for different types of use cases and solutions. And if you go to the next slide, I'll explain a little bit more on where are the areas that we have been engaging with customers around the world. We started first in customer care, and this is not your, let's say, building related or BSS related. This is technical discussions, technical issues coming from the customers, and this has proven to create a significant value for our operators in the level of 90% automation on these processes. The next area is network operations, and in here our system is helping radio transport core engineers to automate their work tasks and raise to the next level of expertise. Now, one of the biggest areas as of late, this comes as no surprise, is energy savings. So AI system is extremely well suited to coordinate the decisions for making the right calls on, for example, when to switch off different carriers or reduce the MIMO pads and so forth in the radio network. And the business case in there is quite simple. And if you go, James, to the next slide. So what we see in terms of the what resonates in the marketplace when it comes to the practical use of AI is that the AI system needs to be trustworthy, transparent. Otherwise, the engineers will not trust the decisions come of the system if you can't trace back the reasons why those are done automatically. And there always needs to be a clear business case attached to the use cases, and you want to have a no-code approach so that you don't need to be a data scientist to actually deliver these solutions. And there's always the legacy systems. You want to be able to adapt and feed to and from those existing systems. And then typically what kind of results we get much faster decisions, always consistent decisions, and a significant reduction in manual work, and always accuracy improvement. Back to you, James.
Lovely, thank you, Petri. And just to clarify, that 90% automation, I think I wrote about this yesterday. That's a ticket kind of ticket elimination, as it were. Is that correct?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's also the manual. Basically, what you want to target is always the manual repetitive tasks. So that's the way how you identify the practical use cases to create the efficiencies. So it's everywhere. So it's basically, you know, if your people are doing the same thing all over again, that's the place where you want to attack the automation.
Got you. Okay, Petri, thank you. I mean, I think those KPIs are hard to argue with. But let's keep rolling. I'm delighted to introduce Steve Szabo from Verizon Business. We ran a long piece with Steve last week, which some of you may have seen, but here's the story from Steve himself. Steve, the floor is yours.
Thank you, James. And it's a nice honor to be on with a great group of folks here and industry leaders on the panel. If you go to the next slide, let me talk a little bit about where we believe Verizon fits in. We've lumped this in really to three buckets. I'll go from left to right. First and foremost, our ability to enhance and drive efficiency and experiences, not just benefits Verizon, but that translates over to how we feel, you know, where our customers want to go and where they need to be to start participating in, you know, modernizing how their businesses will run and growing and leveraging AI. And, you know, when we think about that kind of twofold. One is how can Verizon do better internally? And then that translates its way over to our customers. We talked a little bit in the article James mentioned about something we call Fast Pass, but this is our ability to leverage AI to benefit our reps, which in turn we pass along to our customers, which is how do we marry the data that we have with the issues that they might be seeing, and how do we connect them, leveraging our existing infrastructure, whether that's IVR, whether that's our ability to meet their needs. But the goal is always to leverage information and get smarter, faster, quicker, and more efficient so that their experience in turn makes them a happy customer. And, you know, we can do that by marrying their issues and translating things in real time and getting them to the right reps to answer their questions. And so you'll see that theme just not only for Verizon, but how do we enhance those experiences for our customers. The next bucket from a Verizon business perspective, and we do this across all of Verizon as well for our consumers, but from a business specific perspective, how do we start inserting AI to personalize our products and solutions so that the customers can start benefiting from the differentiation that Verizon can bring to the table? We've done things like Verizon Business Assistant, which is our ability to work with small and mid-sized businesses to collect their information and set up assistants that can train models for them to get smarter and, in some sense, help augment staffing functions for them so that we can work with their customers by giving them personalized information to answer questions. And those things will get trained and get smarter. And then, we've done stuff as recently as well with our security portfolio, where we started our Trusted Connection Suite, which is a ZTNA product for businesses. How do we insert AI so that they can simply set up these systems if they have questions, how to use it, how to deploy it? They run into small issues. It not only helps Verizon by getting them answers faster and not having to always insert a rep, but it gives the customers the satisfaction of having these information and support at their fingertips. And then lastly, on the AI ecosystem, Verizon, we believe we have a large role to play as this AI adventure advances. And, we kind of look at that as, our network infrastructure, our space, our power, our cooling, our geographic footprint. We bring all these things to the table, and our ability to plug that in, not just with folks here on this panel, but many partners, is going to be what's needed and required to not just activate where we want to go with AI, but just also knowing that it's going to be a partner-oriented strategy for all businesses to support where we want to go. If you go to the next slide, just real quick, we announced our Verizon AI Connect. That's kind of the purpose of where we want to go. But our geographic footprint, our long haul and fiber, how we can get and distribute and transport data to the edge, move workloads from cloud to cloud, offer intelligence, whether through APIs and other, to allow for programmability and automation for our customers to do things at scale, give them that full flexibility to go where they need to go in support of their business and needs. We can level that up on a connectivity perspective. And then when you think about the edge, as these workloads become more advanced, it becomes more crucial to get closer to where the outcomes are, where the customers and needs are. Our geographic footprint, our telco facilities become a key part of the strategy. And many of these things are in place, obviously, from our wired and wireless infrastructure that we can tap into for our core networking needs, and then partner with others as well and allow them to have access to that. And, with our footprint, we're already at scale from that perspective. So we believe we bring a lot to the table, and we can provide a lot of the underpinnings that'll be required for the ecosystem to advance and get what we're talking about today and what you heard ABI talk about as far as execution. If you go to the next slide, I'll just talk a little bit about some of the recent partnerships too. Listen, as these big companies start moving forward with their needs on transport and capacity, we're partnering and working with like the Googles and the Meta as well to help them with their transport capacity needs. We've also done stuff to get more innovative with GPU as a service. With Vultura, we've done an announcement. Well, they'll be leveraging our facilities to tap directly into our core so we can partner together for GPU as a service and infrastructure needs for our customers. And then lastly, we had an announcement too recently with NVIDIA, but our ability to leverage their stack with our core network can open up the possibilities for a lot of different outcomes. We, in fact, had an announcement recently where we partnered with them to leverage their stack with a private wireless network and be able to demonstrate live broadcasting with the NHL. So there's a lot going on in the business. These are just a few of the many partners that we're working with, but we believe we have a big stake at the table here to help power the AI ecosystem. So with that, James, I'll hand it back to you.
Steve, thank you. That's great. Beautifully set out, brilliantly set up for Fatih at Red Hat, who has a kind of a definitive blueprint, I guess, of how all these AI workloads exist across the cloud and the edge, and the importance of an open platform in the middle there somewhere. So Fatih, thanks for being here. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So my name is Fatih Nar. I'm a distinguished chief architect in the telecom CTO office at Red Hat. I have been in Red Hat for 5 years almost now. Previously, I was part of Google, Verizon Wireless, as well as Ericsson. As a person who has been on the both side of the coin, one side is a technology provider, supplier, and other side is taking all that technology and products, putting into a service to be consumed by consumers as well as enterprises. It used to be push from a solution or a technology provider into a service provider, and now we are more shifting into a pull approach as service providers wants this new shiny thing, AI, as a sort of a started like a status quo, as a kind of a trendy thing. And we saw a lot of operators and also IT companies placed orders for very expensive accelerator hardware, GPUs, so on and so forth. And we realized, together with the customers, with our partners, we start receiving questions like, hey, Fatih, we bought this $10 million worth of GPUs. What can we do with it? And you hear this, and we were thinking in our minds, what were you thinking, Charlie Brown? Of course, you don't say that, but anyway, we sit down with our customers to understand what they have bought and how we can accelerate their talent onboarding, skill set growth, together with the real down-to-earth use cases that is valid to their business, valid to their customers. Next slide, please. In this journey, when you're onboarding a customer, either with the ground zero, they don't know what they're gonna do with the AI, or a customer, as in the telco domain, who has been using AI for a while with classic AI, as previous presenters showed, could be a service assurance, revenue assurance, fraud management, so on and so forth. Those are all data-driven workflow augmentation. Now with the Gen AI, a little bit of we are taking that AI game to maybe a 10 step further, with coming with the point that how we can do more with AI rather than predicting something. Maybe this time AI can really create a new business channels rather than just lowering the OpEx, rather than just helping people to do their job faster, better. So in that sense, we have two major proposals to our partners and customers. Hey, you can start with Red Hat Enterprise Linux AI, RHEL AI, to start getting familiar with the AI. There's a model inside already bundled with the tool and framework that enables your local data to fine-tune that model and serve you in certain capacity and use cases. That's a great stepping stone for organizations and teams to get familiar with the generative AI. The other part is, okay, you might be grow out of that stepping stone and you're already, full-fledged data scientists and AI engineers. You need a horizontal platform that can sit on premise as well as hybrid cloud, enabling MLOps, enabling bringing your own model to the picture with training from scratch, fine-tuning, as well as RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Now, if you're following the news, last weekend, Llama 4 being launched together with the Red Hat VLLM team, carrying the context window to 10 million tokens. This is a mind-blowing capacity for context, where you can leverage, for example, cache augmented generation instead of RAG. That is hinting into very faster operations, hinting into more different use cases on a single platform where your data scientists, operations, and developers collaborate. Next slide, please. So as I was hinting in the beginning, I have an ambition to do something with generative AI, but I don't know what to do. Maybe I have a use case. First, you have to start with the workload assessment use case. It could be a outage, handling the outages before they happen, like a predictive maintenance sort of things. Could be a service assurance, revenue assurance, could be network analytics. Based on your workload assessment, it hints to scaling dimensions. Scaling dimensions could be a parallel, such as, hey, if the traffic increases, demand increases in, say, consuming digital wallets or the digital currency, we may horizontally scale our platform to serve better capacity with inference model, multiple inference models. Or you may say, hey, this use case is super complex because it is more complex use case for detecting the fraud across multiple domains, not only spending money, but also position or the location of the customer, interaction with the other surrounding systems. Maybe you will increase your model complexity by means of supported parameters climbing up to, say, 100 billion, going to trillion parameters. This is more of a vertical scaling. Now, as I was hinting, it could be either and the context length increase, hinting into memory optimization. All of these scaling dimensions maps into where these workloads gonna run. Say, if you look at the left side of the picture, I have predictive maintenance can easily run in the factory floor with edge data center with the small models, low latency, high accuracy. When you increase the complexity of the model, say service assurance, in Texas, we could be like a highway traffic analysis and detecting the toll usages. Maybe regional data center can address that need with the mid-size model inference, with the mapping GPU acceleration, not that super high end, but mid end. And if you go more complex use cases, hey, I have this, organizational data that I want to correlate with other organizations between finance, HR, logistics, so on and so forth. That may require a larger model inference with the bigger accelerator frameworks that may accommodate on your central data center as well as cloud for bursting approaches. Next slide, please. So running and using and leveraging AI, not only we shall focus on the accuracy or throughput or the money, but also be conscious about the security, trust, and dependability. Because everything at the end of the day in the AI model, although it looks like a black box, it is actually data-driven. So it starts with the data ingestion for data classification, PAI, personal identifier should be eliminated. All this work to be done for the sake of avoiding bias, as well as preventing data leakages, so the securing your customers' future as well as their profiles. When you go access layer, who can access data based on their roles, attribute-based or context-based even? And at the end, you have to prove, as telco being highly regulated industry, you have to prove that you're doing everything right. And if the time and when the time comes, and show that your logs and data tracking and compliance reporting. This is all coming with the abilities offered part of a platform sitting on premise and cloud with these capabilities from data ingestion into model training, inference, as well as role-based operations. Next slide, please.
Marty, can I just interrupt just to keep an eye on the clock, because we got Stephen to come and we want to get some questions.
Sure. I'll be fast forward. So we have exciting things happening in our industry together with the AI industry. One of the key things that has been bringing into the picture is a mixture of experts. So it used to be the whole model used to run on a certain infrastructure. Now it's not like that. We have expert systems. One expert system could be expert in, say, image modality, one with the audio modality, and so on and so forth, where we can only leverage one fraction of the model, leveraging virtual, running the VLLM as a runtime environment, which is part of the, say, Red Hat OpenShift AI platform. Next slide, please. So as Red Hat, as I was saying, we have two approaches. One is that, hey, get familiar with the AI with RHEL AI and go beyond with scale and adaptability and fine-tuning with the Red Hat OpenShift AI, model development, model serving, data pipelines, as well as model monitoring. This is super critical because data changes as our lives. Things change in life, including data. If data changes, model has to be updated. So how are you going to know when to update a model? You have to perform a model drift analysis based on your metrics, based on your observations. This is where a platform offers critical capability for observability, embedding, say, OpenTelemetry, eBPF inside for harvesting the data and feeding back into model training. Next slide, please. So you may say, hey, we like to leverage AI, but we don't know where to start. Good news, we have a GitHub repository for you, open-experiments/telco-AIX, where we also implemented very good telco-relevant use cases with classic AI, as well as generative AI. Please go and look at those use cases. This will take you from 0 to 100 miles with these ready-to-use Jupyter notebooks, already created data sets, as well as visualization and model survey. This is it. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoy it. Please feel free to reach out for details. Thank you.
And Fatih, thank you so much. I feel bad because that was so great. The presentation was so great. It feels like a bad thing to cut you short. But thank you so much. Finally, before we go to questions, I'd like to hand over to Stephen Douglas from Spiron, who can perhaps zoom out a little bit for us again and explains some of the logic and opportunity here. So Stephen, over to you.
Thanks, James. If you just move to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I thought for today's webinar, as you said, to zoom out a little bit, I simply wanted to highlight the monetization opportunities that our service provider customers are starting to focus on. And clear sovereign AI initiatives are emerging in many markets as a priority. In addition, enterprises are demanding AI-ready infrastructure and connectivity, and customer-facing AI applications they're becoming a rapidly growing market. And all of this feeds into a larger vision for service providers, transforming themselves into AI enablers through services like AI networking as a service and infrastructure as a service. And that's because operators, they sit in a unique position to offer solutions across the AI landscape. They have unique assets to deliver on this need. You heard that from Steve talking earlier on about edge, but you've got core edge data centers, public cloud partnerships, private slices, and of course, secure nationwide wireless and wireline networks and infrastructure, all setting a foundation to enable that opportunity. If you jump to the next slide, please, James. Now, one of the things I wanted to highlight from the early testing that we do with many of the operators who are implementing this is that we're being educated that AI traffic isn't business as usual. It has very, very distinct characteristics, which you can see in the example AI applications highlighted here on the chart. You're seeing unpredictable throughput intensities, bursty inference spikes across the network, high concurrency levels going to the inference sites. And in many cases, you've got strict latency requirements. This is fundamentally shifting the network's role from a pipe to a performance platform. AI networking is really becoming essential. It's one that needs to be dynamically scalable, resilient, and highly performant. Next slide, please. And as a result of that, operators are focusing not just on networks enhanced by AI, which you can see on the right-hand side there, but on networks actually being built and optimized for AI traffic. And you can see on the chart on the left-hand side, some of the key focus areas where leading operators are investing, testing, prioritizing their focus on things like wide area network upgrades to higher capacities, such as 400 gig connectivity. You're seeing the implementation of hard and soft network slicing for AI application traffic using technologies like segment routing, V6, like flexible Ethernet. And you're also seeing optimized traffic engineering routing to the AI data center facilities, whether they're edge, core, or breaking out to partner hyperscaler networks. So if you jump to the next slide, James. And look, it's no surprise this is complex. This is a bit of a simplified diagram here showing the sort of a networked topology of the transport infrastructure with various potential breakouts to data centers, whether they're hosted in the telco network itself or through co-location or public cloud providers. But what's fundamental about this here is that the breadth of networking infrastructure is the depth of actually the capabilities and features at the bottom there that need to be implemented. The alignments need to be placed across those layer 1 to 7 to turn this network beyond being simply an enabler, but to becoming a monetizable product when offered to enterprises and sovereign bodies to deliver on those networking requirements for AI traffic, whether it be throughput, whether it be latency, whether it be the elastic scaling or the ability to deal with synchronous and parallel processes for inferencing. And of course, if you jump to the last slide, test and insurance has a primary role here. Because critically, none of this is really going to be possible without robust and test and insurance strategy in place. So if you're offering AI optimized networks as a premium service to enterprises or to sovereign, you need to guarantee performance and precision. And companies like myself, Sparent, we play a key role here in helping you emulate and validate the AI traffic flows, help you detect the bottlenecks, assure the quality of service, the SLA compliance, the security efficacy from core to edge. Because reliability is the currency of AI networking today, and operators' networks have the potential to be the platform for growth in the new AI economy. So, James, I'll pass over to you for questions.
That's lovely. Thank you, Stephen. That's brilliant. Okay, so we have 20 minutes or so on the clock. A quick look again at the topic. If I can ask the panel, I'm going to stop the screen share. If I can ask the panel to put their cameras on, including myself here. How do I do that? Start video. Okay, there we all are. Hello, everybody. Well done. So thanks so much. A reminder that to ask questions, we will come to them as we go. There's a lot of I mean it's a kind of a crazy market. There's a lot happening. There's lots of perceived opportunity, and I think as the Tupl slides showed, there's real opportunities as well. Just at what point, I guess, to start with, does this kind of co-pilot model, if you can call it that, kind of a co-pilot AI model, as perhaps Tupl has, as Petri has to kind of described, as Steve described a little bit, what, responding to prompts from a human, at what point does that shift to this like agentic model, which is a kind of fully empowered kind of software or network really of software agents? When does that happen? Maybe Steve, I know we can start with you on this. I know you're looking at all of that and how to take this all to the next step. Just give us a sense of where we're up to, and if you like, grade the AI that you have in play at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll necessarily grade it just because everyone's got different scales, but what I will do is I'll just kind of share where we're at. I think in each kind of part of the business, we're a little bit further along than the next, right? I think when we're dealing with internal operations, customer care, folks that have questions, we're much more advanced as far as our ability to communicate with them, use AI. One of the things that we discuss here is responsible AI. And so I do think you want human oversight to make sure that things are being done. And quite honestly, I'm not sure our customers are totally comfortable yet with actions just being taken when you're talking about critical infrastructure and their day-to-day business operations. But what we do think they like to see is, they have questions, they want responses. They don't always necessarily want to talk to humans. They want to get to the point on things. We're at that point where we can do those things rather easily. We're also able to support them from more of a human perspective when they do get on, that we can get them answers, we can parse through information, we can give them recommendations, all based on the more generative AI use cases that we have. Our investments are more targeted getting into agentic. We want to be more digital. I think everybody does, right? We want to get more automated. We want to help our customers. And if we can do these things for ourselves internally, we can offer those products to our customers as well to help run their businesses. So, as the models get smarter, as we learn more, we'll be able to get more comfortable getting more into that like execute actions part of the AI space. But, my opinion is while there's more remedial things they can do today to kind of upgrade plans and stuff like that, that's probably, more into, next year and beyond. From a networking perspective, I think as you get into infrastructure, it starts to get more complicated because we're talking about, depending on what size their business is, what their use cases are, who their partners are, the ecosystem itself all has to kind of come in and play together. Where we can do things is, we can give customers insight on how their network usage is things trending on overage as far as capacity of their circuits. Do they want to upgrade from, 100, like a 1 gig to 10 gig if they think they're going to need it at that time? Those are the types of things we're working on now where we can have more control. But as we stated earlier, partners are going to be a huge key in the ecosystem, right? If everybody's not aligned together, it makes it very difficult. The bigger the enterprises are for us to leverage AI, in a more scalable fashion, because everyone's going to have to be on the same page to kind of row the boat in the same direction. So, from a service and support perspective, more advanced, taking all the infrastructure we have and making that accommodating to a variety of different businesses with a variety of different vendors and partners is going to be more complex and take time, but that's where our investments are going. And that's where we think we'll need to be to meet the needs of where AI wants to go.
Okay, lovely. And Petri, go ahead. I mean, I think you're involved in developing these solutions. Yep. Just give us a sense of that agentic process.
Yeah, exactly. So let me give you a storyline what has happened in the last 7 years. So in customer care, we started first automating the back-end part. So, issue is created, and then, there needs to be an engineer to troubleshoot it and So we automated that to a 90% level. Then we got an idea together with our lead customer that why don't we bring this system to the front end, to the customer care reps, that they would actually then, be able to get these resolutions and actions during the interaction with the customer. And that's where the 95% ticket avoidance comes in. So when the customer care rep is using our system, there's 95% chance that no ticket is needed because the customer is satisfied with the actions or explanations on what was done or what was the situation. Now this year we are actually moving into, we have a first commercial contracts for creating this agented AI type of a system where the customer care rep, and I agree with Steve that you need to have that human interaction and the last validation that you don't have the system to run by itself. But you can then have the conversation with our system, which is then combining the predictive AI and then using Gen AI on top to have it more interactive. So that to me is the phase that where we are in, that we are combining predictive AI with Gen AI, which to a certain extent is a definition of agented AI. So
yeah, okay.
We are getting there.
And Nelson, just assess this telecoms industry for me, if you can, because there is a sense, I don't know. I mean, is it? There's a sense that there's some caution, and reserve. You mentioned the core networks, to me previously, and how that AI is not getting anywhere near that, realistically at the moment. And the sense from the others is that it's very much about, making what works well now work really well, as it were. But just, I mean, is that reserve and that conservatism or that perceived reserved fair? Or I mean, because it's also justified, right? I mean, this is critical infrastructure. It's entirely right that this goes at this kind of rate. I mean, just reflect on that if you can.
Yes, thank you, James. Yeah, I believe it's warranted. I believe a lot of these initial deployments and use cases are taking an optimal strategy of, assessing where there's clear, good ROI, and also perhaps some more kind of data considerations. So for example, like in the business support systems, there are some inefficiencies there that service providers would like to address. And the data may be a bit more structured than the network data. So we see this, kind of creation of customer service and support, improving customer experience, reducing churn, and addressing kind of the bottom line as far as that goes. And then also some marketing and sales use cases, reducing time to value, eliminating operational costs. So we're seeing that. We are also, as I described before, kind of seeing the expansion into network use cases, which has been great, especially for root cause analysis, predictive maintenance, and so forth, where it's still relatively low risk, keeping kind of human involvement, but also capable of reducing network downtime and improving the network's cost profile, which is also kind of very important and direct for what service providers want. So yeah, I think it will be some time yet before kind of we see this closer integration with the core. But at the same time, there is also signs of movement in that direction, with some intelligent or agentic core announcements recently. And these are impressive and revolutionary, really. If an agentic core eventually is able to kind of route traffic dynamically rather than through predefined routing policies, or account for compute resources when routing data and so on, it could revolutionize how networks are deployed. For example, smarter infrastructure may be needed to interact with the core network and feed information about compute resources and distribute AI workloads for the core itself. OSS may likely shapeshift to be much more aligned with ML ops, where one's not only monitoring the network, but also kind of refining intelligence of the core. So it's very interesting. I don't foresee this happening anytime soon, but I am optimistic that it may eventually happen and that it will have a big impact.
Lovely, Nelson. And just Fatty, to bring you in, I mean, if these guys are asking how they spend, you know, how they put $10 million worth of GPUs to work, if it's not for agentic AI, what is it? I mean, maybe if you can have a circle around that agentic question and just, I mean, this is a speculative market, right? It's a supply chain which is kind of very supply led at the moment, I would suggest. What do you make of it? And that agentic question, you know.
Okay, so let me try to connect two big dots before agentic AI. So we used to talk a lot about the cloud itself, elasticity for infrastructure, you know, on-demand availability of resources, and then there comes cloud native network functions, microservices, service-based architecture with 3GPP, hinting that the workloads can scale down but deploy many places as in the microservices fashion, service-based architecture. And now we are talking all of a sudden, oh, AI, and evolving from monolith AI into agentic AI. Isn't this a microservices blueprint of AI? So we agents everywhere talking to each other, delivering some role and responsibility, yet talking to each other, also the external tools, i.e., we are evolving from monolith AI, one gigantic model deployed in central data center, into different locations with agents with different back model. As in the Lord of the Ring analogy, there is one ring to rule them all, but there are multiple rings that is given to each individual community who can handle that ring with the capacity and capability. So agentic AI taking us to leverage AI in more optimal and useful way, in a distributed fashion, in a scale, sitting on a platform. The key here is the deployment unit of agentic systems. Guess what it is? Containers.
Lovely. And Stephen, I want to bring you in. I'm aware that time is going quite quickly. We've got a couple of questions. If you've got a question, please ask, and we will get to it. But Stephen, just I want to bring you in. You mentioned the kind of broker model there, you know, to go through this kind of process of AI used internally, AI or telco as part of the AI ecosystem. You referenced that broker model. Just talk around that. I don't know very much about that, but that sounds like a new thing. Is it? Is that something? And what's your sense of that as an opportunity, I guess, with regards to kind of sovereign data and, you know, responsible kind of handling of this, all those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, the role of, you know, a telco op sitting as a broker or an orchestrator for different models, you know, it's not a new idea. I think what's new is that a number of the operators are now putting it into practice. I think they've identified, you know, especially where there are sovereign opportunities or where there are, especially probably more small medium enterprises which have requirements, national requirements in terms of privacy, maybe don't have the same understanding of what models are relevant for them. You know, they're used to buying connectivity from the telco. Now the question is, can the telco offer them that sort of independent, trusted brokerage of the various models, whether it be for, you know, through to the foundational models, but more specifically to the domain or the vertical specific adoptions for them. And we're seeing a number of telcos now partnering to actually develop those vertical specific models, which are more small language models rather than, you know, anything that large, but it's sitting as the orchestrator for that. Which model makes the most sense? How do you keep them up to date? How do you provide, you know, you heard Fatty talk about that, the security around it, the efficacy, the trust around that. But at the same time, you're also offering them or packaging with it your connectivity services, you know, around that and guaranteeing the relevant SLAs, the performance guarantees, the privacy guarantees around that. So we think that is potentially going to be a very, very lucrative model for the telcos in the market at the moment. You know, if you look at what telcos' footprints are nationwide today, just with their reach, with their infrastructure that they've got in place, they're in a pretty strong position to offer that. And it also could be highly relevant for them for their private network offerings as well, you know, bundling that alongside what they're today offering as part of a, you know, as a private network capability, suddenly offering the edge infrastructure for AI inferencing at the edge for the private, for the enterprise as well. Around that. So we do see a lot of opportunity around that at the moment, James, and a number of operators we're working with, both Middle East, Europe, and the US, are starting to focus around that as a business opportunity.
Yeah, lovely. And Stephen, I'll just stay with you. We've got a question here about AI tests in telco on the radio part, KPI optimization, data traffic predictions. I guess the question is, what are you seeing across your workbenches? What are the operators wanting to put AI on in the network?
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of focus on this at the moment. I mean, if you're in Barcelona this year, you'd have seen a lot about AI, AI RAN, AI on RAN, in RAN, and RAN. It was everywhere. But there is quite a bit of focus on the testing of it at the moment. I mean, obviously, the more embedded AI within the RAN is sort of has been around for quite a while in terms of looking at, say, energy efficiency optimizations, better spectrum management, optimizing the behavior of the radio. That a lot of that testing does go on to validate sort of the efficacy and the value of it. It's easy potentially to say you can add AI to every level of the radio stack, but does it actually make sense? You know, can you really optimize, say, a layer one function, you know, to drive more out of it than's already currently been done today? Is it better at the higher levels? So there's a lot of focus around that testing, but you're also now starting to see this focus on those new variants, AI sort of and RAN and you know, AI on RAN in terms of, say, using like RIC applications that are driving, say, some of the non-real-time behavior performance and the KPIs of the radio networks. I'm also looking or trying to understand, could you potentially in the future, if you were building radio on, say, GPUs, could you free up some of that processing for, say, third-party applications and maybe in low peak periods or in smaller deployments, maybe not major macro deployments, but potentially on private environments? So there's quite a number of areas, James, that are being sort of looked at the moment on that relationship between optimizing and running the radio and potentially the radio also becoming sort of a part of the monetization play at an infrastructure level.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, I'm going to run through some questions. I've got a feeling I'm going to run over by a couple of minutes, but just very quickly, Fatih, if I can bring you back in, you talked about scaling dimensions, you know, and this kind of stuff, and I wonder when that shifts into that MEC, you know, distributed MEC kind of network architecture, because, you know, MEC, has it been monetized yet? This is a new opportunity. It's a slightly different opportunity, you know, but you look at, I mean, a country like Germany, surely you can serve Germany from 4 data centers. You don't need, you know what I mean? So it's a market by market thing a little bit, but how, and I guess the most important question here is, what use cases what workloads do you put on that infrastructure? Is that very clearly understood, or are we building a market very speculatively still?
So look, let's be real. So there are good use cases, not necessarily falling directly under telecom, but telecom service provider becoming an infrastructure or even a platform, AI platform supplier to educational institutes. So right now, one of the biggest impacts of AI is tailored education to the students. So one of the falling pillars of humanity is we are not able to provide proper education to our coming generations. So AI augmenting that education, custom educational materials or programs, huge impact to society. Together with the AI in healthcare, you know, although it was a joke in the beginning saying that by 2025 there will be no radiologists because the AI will take over it, and there will be no cars we have to drive. It's going to be all autonomous vehicles. And the joke is 2025, radiologists are driving their cars to the hospital still. So it is a spaced approach. The AI is going to bring value to our society, our lives, our businesses. But there are really good use cases, as in the education. As you were hinting, Germany can be served by 4 data centers with data locality, custom education, custom literature, without leaving the country boundaries, with the infrastructure being owned, maintained, and offered by a telecom service provider. It doesn't have to be a cloud. It doesn't have to be an American company. It could be a local company or local provider within Germany. And same with the healthcare, same with the social security services. Right now, majority, now we are in the tax season, right? In US, it's tax season. We haven't done ours yet. Hopefully we'll do. The IRS, most of the IRS cannot handle the nationwide taxing. There is AI machinery behind it. Intent detection, analyzing the receipt, analyzing the income. This is already part of the workflow that we are using in governments and educations, but it's going to get better. It's going to get more effective. It's going to bring more value. But the key thing in here is the human oversight. As these are data-driven machinery, data being the new oil, you have to control the quality of the oil. Is this the right octane to accelerate this engine? Is there a bias in there? Is this a fake synthetic data or real data? Look, we see the every other week new version of the model, AI models coming into the picture. We start thinking, all right, I thought we already consume all the written literature in the human history. Where is this additional data is coming? Why don't you ask these questions to yourself?
Yeah.
And then when
Okay.
you ask it, you're going to realize, okay, maybe you take a different approach with agentic AI, different use cases, different industries, but still benefit out of it.
Steve, and bring it back in, please. Just related, I guess, use cases, this kind of stuff. You talk and really on this ecosystem play, which seems to be the big driver or a big driver clearly, and a big opportunity at the moment. And you talked about a billion sales funnel or something like that. So clearly there's the business out there, but talk around that and the use cases that you're putting on that. What is MEC the right term these days? I don't know, but that that network, that kind of distributed network, those assets you have.
So, I mean, obviously the ability for capacity and transport is crucial. We mentioned Google, we mentioned Meta, but all players are going to require it, and we have the underpinnings to provide it. And our funnel, based on our funnel, we know that that's where their investments are going because they need to go there. But just to play off what T said, depending on AI advancement, right? It doesn't really matter if it's a network function, a business function, a consumer outcome function. The edge becomes crucial based on the patience or impatience of the outcome need, right? So at some point you will need to get closer to the outcome, and that'll all need to be there. So, whether it's Mac or whatever, getting as close as you can to where that workload needs to be so that the outcome that you want can be delivered. And I use the word patience and impatience because I think that is the key, right? If I'm very impatient on what needs to happen, I need to get closer to the edge and to the outcome. If I am okay and more patient, then maybe some of the more traditional setups that we have today are going to be just fine. But making that all kind of work in concert will be super critical. So yeah, the edge will be a huge part of it, right? And we're seeing folks set up now, and like we said, with all the colleagues on here, whether it's a matter of testing, where we put the containers and the workloads, how we get to places, how we kind of assess the market, it's all going to become critical to how we partner at the end to kind of drive the ecosystem. But I think everybody here has to partner together in some way, shape, or form to kind of realize the vision. I do really believe that. Yeah,
understood. Look, I'm going to ask Petri a question, I'm going to ask Nelson a question, then we're going to close, and I'm going to apologize that we don't have more time to discuss. There is so much to talk about. I'm going to say I'm disappointed in you people for not asking more questions, but it is what it is. And thank you for those who did, and thank you for attending all the same. But Petri, give us a view of where this goes from here, from a Tupl point of view, from a product point of view, from an expansion point of view, how this cascades and scales in operators. Quickly, if you can.
Yeah, quickly. So we are a practical company, and we see the challenges on putting actually something in production. So in order to make a production grade AI system, again, it needs to be trustworthy. So you need to be able to backtrack all the decisions that an AI makes and what are the contributing factors to make that. So we are in that we have been executing that phase right now. Now the next phase will be to make it much more interactive, so that there is a component of Gen AI and agentic AI and so forth. And when that comfort increases, then you can really move into the next level. But the key is that I don't think you can jump from 0 to 100. You have this transition period where predictive AI is going to be the maturity of, let's say that it's a learning platform, and then how do you go into a even more advanced one? That'll take a few years, but it'll come. But it needs to be completely traceable and trackable how that's evolving.
Lovely. And Nelson, we've got a question in from Newfell, and Nelson, I'm going to ask you it. Okay, and it is about what is cutting through now. In this, the sense from Newfell is that we've been talking about the future and not enough about today. So for you, and I think we've talked previously about network design, network densification, AI used in those kind of cases. Just for you, when you look across, when you analyze this market, what is the, and I hate to use the term, but the killer case out there now for AI in telecoms? Nelson, that's yours. And you're on mute.
Yeah, I'd have to say
No
that
pressure.
some of the business applications are still very popular and at least kind of directed towards meeting the most immediate needs of a lot of service providers right now. So if we're not talking about the future, but kind of the most immediate needs, it's addressing those inefficiencies with low risk, high kind of ROI use cases.
All right. Look, I want to apologize again. We didn't chat more. This is a good topic. I mean, it's an endless topic. We could go on for hours and hours, but that is it from us. Sorry to overrun by 5 minutes. The presentations will be available after the event, as will the whole session. A reminder, again, test and measurement forum on April 29th. It should be a good event. You can find that online. In the meantime, and one last time, I would like to thank all of you, the panel today. So thank you, Stephen from Spirent, Nelson from ABI, Petri from Tupl, Steve from Verizon, and Fatih from Red Hat. Thank you so much for your time and your patience with me. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We hope you found the session useful, and we will catch you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.